filled with your heroes, like the people I'd wanted to meet my entire career. But it's different from the Oscars in one very significant way. At the Oscars, if you're nominated for a category, when they get to your category, you desperately want them to call your name. At the 50 Best, if you're there, you know you're 1 through 50. You just don't know where on the list you are until you get there. They start at 50, they count down to 1. There, you are desperate that they do not call your name for as long as possible. We had assigned seating. I like to gamify everything in life. People have often asked me, how did I challenge my team to get better and better and better with each passing year? I would say I didn't. I just made work feel enough like a game, and one we all really enjoyed playing. Anyone who's ever played a game they like to play, you know the more you play, the better you get. I think every leader in every business out there needs to make their workplace feel more like a game. But I do like to gamify everything. And so I was looking at where our seating was relative to where the people who had come in 1 through 10 the year before were sitting, to try to figure out where we're gonna fall. And I think I guessed number 35. But there was some amount of preamble and normal welcomes and thank you for comings before they started, though all I really remember was the big British MC at the front of the room saying, and at number 50, kicking it off, a new entry from New York City, 11 Madison Park. To which I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Now, what I could not possibly have known, because we were the first restaurant called, it was my first year there, the assigned seating has nothing to do with where you fall on the list. It's so that they can train a camera on you and project the image of your reaction on this giant screen, which again was in front of all my heroes. We left the awards, they got to 1. We were outside, and this Italian chef, Massimo Bottura, who would later, he's like one of the greatest chefs in the world. He came up to me. I'd been so excited to meet him. And in the most sarcastic tone, he's like, hey, you looked really happy up there. I did what any mature professional would do in a moment of profound disappointment. I left the party early, went back to the hotel, and started drinking. Going through the stages of grief. First, anger. And I was angry. We're one of the best restaurants in America. How are we last place on this list? But ultimately got to acceptance, because here's the thing. It's patently absurd to say any restaurant is the number 1 restaurant in the world. What the list acknowledges, what being number 1 means, is that you're having the greatest impact on the world of restaurants at any given time. We've gotten on that list by focusing on excellence. We've gotten on that list by doing the things I'm sure many of you have done to get ahead. You look at other businesses, you look at what they do well, and you start collecting those things. You're curators of great ideas, and you bring them all together, and in doing so, you establish your own perspective. But in reality, I hadn't actually done anything impactful. I don't know about all of you, when I'm trying to accomplish a goal, I look at others who have accomplished it before me and say, all right, what did they do? Let me figure it out. There was a chef from Spain who developed a technique called molecular gastronomy. This guy was relentless in pursuit of the product he served. The plating, the ingredients, the technique. There was one from Copenhagen who was like the guy that really invented all of the local food movements. He was unreasonable. He was willing to do whatever it took to serve the best possible product. I think as leaders, it's important that we name our own superpowers and invite those around us to do the same. I don't think it's cocky to name your superpowers. I actually think it requires vulnerability. Because the moment you say out loud to the people around you what you're great at, you're inviting them to say that you're not good at it. But if you don't name it for yourself, and if you don't encourage your team to name it as well, you all have an inability to leverage one another's strengths. My superpower in that room was that everyone else was a chef. I was the dining room guy. If those guys were unreasonable in pursuit of product and relentless in pursuit of how it needed to change, that night I decided that I was going to be unreasonable in pursuit of people and relentless in pursuit of the one thing that will never change, which is our human desire to feel seen, to feel cared for, to feel a sense of belonging, our general wanting to feel welcome. And so that night on a cocktail napkin, channeling my dad's paperweight, what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? I wrote, we will be number 1 in the world, and then I wrote unreasonable hospitality.